very reminiscent to what Mike Sigrist actually took to the top 4 of Pro Tour Concertar Cure. You can expect Fleecemane Lions, and I imagine the Death Dealer there as well. As you do see a Herald of Torment is being turned sideways. Looks like McGregor is searching with his windswept teeth. He will get himself a forest.
And I think the biggest issue with Abzan aggro is this matchup right here. I think it's a very good deck, but in the mirror match that's against decks that are a little bit slower and a little bit more powerful, I think this deck really struggles.
4 mana, it's a Sorin, Solemn Visitor. That'll come down here for McGregor. It's going to go down at 2 to give Pat a Vampire token. We'll see the turn go back his way. Bryant going to draw a card here. He's got a Sylvan Caryatid in play. Thoughtseize with the draw. You can also see the Silence Believers in his hand. The power level of his hand, well, of course it's high. That's typically how Abzan works. He's also got an Elspeth and Dune Blast over there. The question is, can he actually cast all these spells?
He's way far away, and this is where Abzan aggro can steal these games, is getting out in front early. It's nice to have a threat plus a Planeswalker, so End Hostilities doesn't end your entire threat base. And Pat's got a good recipe thus far.
Hero's Downfall going to take care of Sorin. You saw Thoughtseize actually take Hero's Downfall, leaving Pat with an Abzan Charm. So, he's also got the Death Dealer over there, does McGregor. Doesn't look like Bryant has a land to play. No, he just has to pass the turn back here. McGregor will have to take one from the Herald of Torment, of course. The Life Loss trigger puts him down to 15. What's it McGregor wants to do on this turn? Getting pretty aggressive in the skies. That's the way you beat this deck. An attack for 5 is going to put Bryant down to 10.
Definitely when they're fumbling around with mana, this is the best way to go at them.
Sorin was the top deck, and he's just going to make another flyer with it. You know, have the opportunity to maybe play Sorin, just up it, get some more damage across, but opting just to make a flyer.
Yeah, if Mike can kill this thing this turn, it's going to be with just a removal spell. So you're better off having the extra threat in play. It is slightly worse in the event that Michael has End Hostilities, because then Pat has to plus the Sorin in response to a sweeper instead of minusing it, but that's pretty small. And given that Michael's fumbling around with mana, and part of his mana is Caryatid, I think he's thrilled if Michael's turn is End Hostilities.
McGregor takes one, of course. Draws another copy of Sorin. They come in packs.
They do.
Apparently.
Even though he is the Solemn Visitor. They do hang out. They do enjoy each other's company.
McGregor is going to give it some thought before ticking it up. Not a lethal attack, just a good one. Kind of shrugged his shoulders and says, let's get into the red zone. You have to have something. So let's see what that something is. That something is a Silence of Believers, so bye-bye Herald forever.
And when the Abzan midrange deck passes with a lot of mana into your own turn, most of the time what they have is just a removal spell.
Silence of Believers is a very popular card at the Block Pro Tour that Patrick Chapin did win. Hasn't caught on as much in this format, as Bryant will draw his card and pack it up. McGregor will tie things up. We'll head to a third game here. But I think we're going to see a slow influx of Silence of Believers. You saw Todd Anderson playing one in his main deck instead of the other end. I think we're going to see that happen slowly but surely. 1-2 copies through 75s.
So the upshots for that card are it kills Stormbreath Dragon, where other end does not. And when the game really drags out, you can strive it and do a ton of work. I think some of the big costs are the Ascendancy matchup. You can no longer get an Ascendancy off the table, or it's much more challenging to do so. You're a little bit worse against, I guess it's basically just Ascendancy. That's the big thing. And just non-creature permanents in general, Planeswalkers as well.
Yep. They're definitely, you definitely give them some advantages.
Yeah.
It's weird to say it's a little bit harder to cast because it's black-black versus black-white.
It's basically the same.
But it's kind of probably just a wash there,
yeah.
Especially when Urborg exists too. And it might actually be easier to cast because of Urborg. So I think arguments can be made on both sides. Take a look at the sideboards here for Bryant. He's going to be on the play here, sitting at 5-0. He's got a Silence of Believers in his board, along with a Death Frenzy, 4 Drought and Sorrow, 2 Dune Blasts, 3 Bile Blights, a Thoughtseize, 2 Nissa World Waker, and Liliana Vest. So we're going to play some Haymaker magic here. We know the Silence of Believers is in. We know that at least 1 Dune Blast is in, probably both. I don't know if I expect to see the Thoughtseize in. You know, if you compare this deck to a Jund deck in Modern, we see actually players boarding out the discard spells, and I can actually see that happening, especially because he's against an aggro version.
Well, there's 2 things going on. One is your life total matters, and 2 is the decks get empty-handed after they're trending off, and then it's about who's drawing better, and the discard spells are the worst draws you can get once the game gets in that spot. this is a small thing about Pat's list, and I'm not sure how popular it is, but I really like it, and I want to comment on it. There's a second copy of Urborg. People don't often do this because they think to themselves, well, it's a legendary land that doesn't really do very much, and I don't want the second copy. But his sideboard is 3 copies of Bioblight and 2 copies of Drown in Sorrow. Those cards, the matchups you're bringing them in, it's really important to play them on time, and it's hard to do with the mana base the way that it's constructed. So the second copy of Urborg does a lot to ensure the consistency of being able to cast your double black spells early on in the game. And it is a cost-benefit analysis. Yes, some games are going to draw 2 Urborgs early on. You're going to get punished for it. But I think that once your sideboard contains these double black spells you need to cast early, it's worth the risk of drawing the second Urborg to ensure that you have the first one more often and can cast your double black spells early on in the game.
I like decks playing 2. 3 is a lot.
3 is a lot.
3 is a lot, but the benefit that Urborg provides is, I think it's understated. I really do.
For this deck especially, you know, there's 2 forests, 2 plains, a bunch of lands that come into play tapped, your windswept heaths, those don't provide black mana, and the sideboard is really leaning on these Bioblights and Drown in Sorrows to have an acceptable beatdown matchup. So the second Urborg, in a subtle way, helps there a lot.
Yeah. I like Urborg.
I do too.
I do.
I think that I brought up to players a couple weeks ago about the prospect of playing a second Urborg, and they basically laughed at me when I mentioned this as, why would you ever play a second Urborg? It doesn't do very much, and drawing the second one is so bad. But it's good to see Pat playing the second copy.
There are times where it can be oh so good.
Yeah.
McGregor and Bryant, game number 3 here. Both these players sitting at 5-0. Plenty of time to finish game number 3, so you have to imagine one of them will walk away at 6-0. As game number 3 underway, Stands Up Citadel is where both players will start. Bryant will draw a card. It's a copy of Thoughtseize. Time to fire that bad boy off. You see a Fleecemane lying over there in McGregor's hand. He's also got some Siege Rhinos, a Thoughtseize of his own, another Citadel, along with a Llanowar Waste and a Rashasha Death Dealer. So a pretty good hand here for McGregor.
Solid hand. Can't really take a 2-drop here because there's a couple of them. And that's a win for Pat if he's taking the Thoughtseize.
Yeah. It's weird to say that Thoughtseize is probably the worst card in his hand, but I think it is.
Well, it depends on what's going on in Michael's hand.
Yeah?
On the surface of it, it does look like the worst card. Because Pat's mana is going to be tied up, and he just wants to curve out and use his mana probably pumping Rakshasa or leaving up mana to regenerate. But Michael must really value something he's got going on in his hand.
There's another Citadel there for Bryant. McGregor will draw a card. Hero's Downfall is what he's found. He's going to take 1 to cast something. He's going to go with the Fleecemane line, get the beatdowns going early. Over Bryant's way we will go. We'll see what he has for his 3rd turn here in just a moment. Starts by drawing a card. Siege Rhino was the draw. The question is, does he have a land? The answer is no, he does not. And one thing this deck can do for McGregor is he can run away with it quickly.
And it is really bizarre now that Michael took the Thoughtseize if he was at risk of missing a land drop.
Yep.
Because at that point you want to get, I don't know if you want to get a Siege Rhino or you want to get one of his 2 drops out of the hand, but it's hard to value Thoughtseize that highly when you're at risk of just missing land drops.
Citadel off to the top. Will allow Bryant to try to continue to play this game. McGregor has an untapped land as his 4th land, and that means the Rhinos are going to start riding down now. And that's where things get a little bit ugly for Bryant because, you know, Siege Rhino isn't a great card in this matchup, but when you're behind, it looks great.
Yep. I like the idea after your little flourish of language there. Designing Rain of Rhinos.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Just rhinos falling from the sky.
Yeah, just raining all over you. Here's the first of many. Well, these also come in packs, as many proved at Pro Tour Concertarch here. Yeah. You don't draw just 1. There's a Courser, but that's outclassed on this battlefield. And allow Bryant to go up to 8. Revealing Mana Confluence. We'll see the top card of his deck in just a second here. Or maybe we won't because we might see a concession here in just a moment. McGregor is pretty far ahead.
I think the Downfall or the Siege Rhino in hand, they all kill Michael. So.
I think that is the case here. Yeah, and he's going to see an attack, and that is going to do it. Pat McGregor is going to win this match over Michael Bryant. 2-1. Abzan aggro able to take down Abzan mid-range due to some mana troubles for Bryant's side. For McGregor, the local 6-0.
Must feel pretty fortunate to have skated by this matchup. Not something that he really wants to play against, but Michael, again, just missing his 3rd land drop there in game 3, and Pat Straw sufficiently aggressive to capitalize on that.
Someone who has played a decent amount of Magic, pretty good friend of Jerry Thompson's and other guys up from this area. I'm sure Matthias knows him, Jason Ford. I'm friends with Pat on Facebook.
Wow, just name dropping all
We're
over the place.
such good buddies.
Just name dropping all over the place.
I don't think I've talked to him in like 2 years.
Anyone else popular you know on Facebook that you want to talk about?
Yeah, Kevin Love
Kevin Love.
from the Minnesota area.
Yep.
So I know a lot of the Minnesota locals.
Okay.
It's good to be here. Really happy about that. But congratulations to you, Pat. 6-0 now with Abs on Aggro. Though I do agree with what you said.